Hey, Mark here. I have a really cool giveaway for you that's gonna make you scream with delight. I have 5 4K Ultra HD copies of Scream 7 up for grabs, and if you're interested in winning a copy, you should just shoot me a message. Be like, Mark, I love the Scream franchise. It's wonderful, and I want to know how it ends. I wanna know where this franchise is going. I know there's a lot of changes. There's been some cast switch ups. Hey, Mark here. I have a really cool giveaway for you. I have 5 4K Ultra HD copies of Scream 7 up for grabs, and if you're interested in winning a copy, just shoot me a message. You beg, Mark, I love the Scream franchise. I want to know where it's going. You gotta send me one of these awesome 4K copies with the Blu-ray and a digital copy included because it's great and it's free. And I am a big fan of Neve Campbell, so let's see where this Scream 7 thing is going. So yeah, if you're interested in winning a copy, just shoot me a message. Fear Comes Home. Scream 7 is now available on DVD, 4K, and digital.
Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me, Megan Hoffmeyer.
Sarah Newark, DJ Valentine, Billy Business, and Brendan Peters. This is Andy Boetes. This is Nathan Leahy. It's David Cross. It's Jake Lewitt. Norbert Morvan. It's Lisa Leahy. Joey Lewandowski. John Levingood. Professor Mike Dillon. Nick Riak. Niall Moore. Adam Youngblood Hodge. Eric Hoffmeyer. It's Johnny Nunn.
Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who's recording this episode from inside a
Work shed.
It's John Levingood.
My wife burnt my breakfast again. I'm going to now utter the incantations from the Book of the Dead, and she will become a Kandarian demon. The breakfast couldn't get worse.
This movie rules, John.
Do you think that Henrietta, Deadite Henrietta, can make a better breakfast than regular Henrietta? Because what little clip that we saw of regular Henrietta, she seems like a very nice older mother or grandmotherly type, but she doesn't strike me as the grandmother who makes like a really badass pie, you know? She strikes me as someone who has never even been introduced to the basics of salt and pepper.
They travel a lot too, so I think they're all over the place. So yeah, they just kind of I think Demon Henrietta brings a lot of knowledge with her.
I mean, thousands of years of knowledge of spicy, salty demonness.
Yeah, and so I think when you've been around that long, and Henrietta is earnestly trying to cook, not murder you and swallow your soul. So if Henrietta is trying to win a cooking competition legally without being exercised, then yes. Because, I mean, time. Just a lot of time.
THYME? Is that the secret to Deadite cooking?
Yep, THYME. They have a lot of time on their hands and in their hands.
I'll bet the Deadites like cardamom. I feel like that's, one of those spices that evades a lot of people's adventurousness. And so I'll bet they really take advantage of cardamom.
That's a good read. I think, yeah. Do you think, this is really random, but do you think they would like rose water, or do you think they would like something that pungent, or would they like more spices?
That actually strikes me as one of the things that would be from the Van Helsing Guide to Kill Them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like rose water.
Or maybe they use just a little bit to get a little burning sensation.
It's too floral. I don't think demons would go for floral. And if you go a little too hard on rose, it's wrecked. I watch a lot of Great British Bake Off.
It's like putting in too much onion powder, I guess, for the opposite scent effect.
So all right, so cardamom, big cardamom people.
I think so. I think that's their ace up their slit sleeve.
So if you open a spice store and cardamom just disappears, you know who
Haunted.
does it. Haunted.
That's the first sign.
You have a poltergeist when you don't look away, the cardamom pops out and is right next to the plate. Like, what? Who put this here?
Like, if your sweet grandmother Henrietta died and she's haunting your house, that's when you're just missing a sock every now and then.
Yeah.
And I think that she's just trying to get you to look around the house as an excuse to, she's trying to get you to clean up because you don't clean the house enough, and she used to take good care of the house. But when you're missing the cardamom, there's something heinous in your house. You use that very rarely. You're not likely to misplace it. You know what I mean? That's evil Henrietta. That is Deadite Henrietta, not sweet grandmotherly ghost Henrietta.
That's the cardamom rule.
This should be.
I think the Warrens use that for all their Conjuring cases.
That's how they survived that many movies.
You got to lay off the salt
because Ed Warren did too much salt.
That's right.
You gotta go to the cardamom.
He did too much salt. It sounds like he snorted it.
I mean, could be. Might as well back
That would
then.
hurt.
You see the way people put salt on their foods. Like just smoking a cigarette, putting salt on their bacon, living forever.
I mean, if you're going to swallow a sole, realistically, you want to lubricate that with something first because you don't want it to like jack up your throat.
Yeah, swallow your soul, swallow your soul. What comes with a soul?
I mean, if you serve it like escargot, where it's like butter and olive oil, like it's going to slide down. That sole is just going to slide and glide down your throat. Whereas if you just like take Ash Williams, right, and you try and swallow them, you're gonna like you like the buttons from your shirt could snag on your throat. You need something.
It's like, bananas are real green, then they get ripe, then overripe. Is that like a soul? Like when you're young, they're kind of green. It could be soft if it's veal,
I
but
mean, some of the bright greens cause some inflammation. So I mean, a demon's got to look out for that.
yeah. So some bright, I think it's yellow. That's like a good one, but then it gets too. Let's say they get like a dirty soul.
And then you get IBS. Do you think that a demon is happy when it has IBS?
You just so it can just spray.
Like just some heinous, horrible thing. I mean, they will blood geyser at you. Like they're pretty gross.
Yeah, I think anything that gives us a leg up to be nasty, they're all about.
A leg up and then geyser
Eh,
IBS.
Yeah, exactly.
Like something from Dumb and Dumber, but you're seeing the results. This
Yeah,
just got interesting. This took an odd turn. You know, too much spice rack can do that to you too if you're not careful. That's why people have such reactions to Indian food sometimes.
when I got the first spice rack I ever got in my house, I was very pleased with because I just felt like an adult. John, I'm just putting that out there in the world. But then the cardamom went missing. I never thought about it till now. And the person who got me the spice rack thought I was being kind of sarcastic or like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, no, I'm earnest here. I'm very happy that I got a spice rack. And I'm like, oh, well, you're too happy. I'm like, what's happening here?
This is just a sign of the boringness that we embrace as fun as we get older. In my house, there are two separate areas of the house with seasoning and spices, and they are both organized. One is a shelf that is built onto the inside of the door that you hang over the inside of the door
Yep,
of
yep.
your pantry. And the other, we have taken a couple of the glass, the see-through glass cabinets in the kitchen near the range, and there's a spice rack on either side of it, inside the shelf that we put in. That's the level of like Martha Stewart that I now aspire to as a 6'3", damn near 300-pound man.
You know what, John? If we've had some wild years and done our fair share of traveling, we're totally fine settling down with a couple sweet spice rack areas in our home. We've earned it.
I need no more excitement in my weekend than a visit to the gym
Trader Joe's.
and then
Sorry.
going to Wegmans to pick up whatever we're going to cook for our next few meals.
I love going to Trader Joe's because they got like Greek freak dressing and they just have the craziest little spices. I'm like, that's gonna go on my salmon. I'm like
Henrietta's Soul IBS.
cardamom. They should do Ed Warren's like salt and just make it like very see-through crystal salt. John,
That sounds like something that like rappers would have liked in the early 90s.
yeah, or like Limp Bizkit, or if someone from Florida. All right, John, I have a question that might kill you, but I'm going to
Okay.
ask you anyway.
All right.
We've talked about a lot of 1987 horror films on the podcast. You and I specifically. I've talked about Lost Boys, other ones with Tom. I've covered The Gate with David Cross. I've covered an absurd amount of 1987 horror films, but I've done 5 with you. And I want you to start, let's see, bring on in the second half, bench, drop, sell. So basically rank them according to like who you would start in the second half as like a backup, who you keep on the bench just in case, and then who you would drop from the team so they're still in the team but they didn't practice with the main screen, or you just sell them. All right, I'm gonna give you 5 movies: Evil Dead 2,
Okay, hold on.
Hellraiser.
Yeah, I'm getting my pen. I'm getting my pen.
Okay.
I got to pay attention here. All right, all right. Evil Dead 2, Hellraiser,
Hellraiser, Prince of Darkness.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3, I assume.
Yep, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors,
Uh-huh.
Predator.
Okay. I hate you. We
because
should
we
look.
love all these movies.
Okay,
I hate you.
so who's my starter?
Yeah, who's your starter?
Good Lord, like these are all like absolute like must see 87 movies.
Yeah. I had to write an article for the Ringer once where I had to pick which horror year had the best starting five, like an NBA team, and I gave them all positions, and I said 87 was because
That's
it.
tough.
Yeah.
80 and even 88 would be a good competitor. 88's
86
got
was good too, like 60. There's a
man.
lot of good years, but I just went with 87. But yeah, and you're lucky I'm not adding Lost Boys, Near Dark, other films I've covered, just not with you. So
I'm
those
lucky that you're
five.
not even more insidious than you already were to ask this question.
Exactly.
Is that what we're
That's
saying?
right. Because I know this
All right,
is
okay.
rough on you.
Okay, all right. Okay. So who would I but this is so whatever mood or whatever hits me first, it's like it's going to be different
So
every day.
Wednesday night, 7:15 p.m.
Like this is like not even a right now in the sense of at this phase of my life. It's right now is in at 8:37 p.m. Like at 8:38, my answer could have been different based on whatever was in my head that day. So okay, all right. So my number one, my starter. I hate you. Uh, you know what? I'm actually gonna say Evil Dead 2.
Same. Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 has more horror gags and effects per unit time of maybe truly almost any other horror movie I've ever seen. Like you don't even in the first 15 minutes of this movie, you've got a whole horror movie worth of effects,
Yeah.
truly.
Yeah, about
And I
15
think that
minutes in, you're like, is there more?
and then you look at the running time, you're like, oh, there's another 69 minutes. This movie's 84 minutes, and it has more horror effects than like any trilogy you can point me to, other than this trilogy.
Well,
This
it had a pretty good team.
all right. So now like who's my first string backup?
Yeah, like basically you're six person, so they come off the bench.
I think that's going to be Predator.
Okay. Easy to
Predator
watch.
is so universally beloved, and I have to give this caveat, I'm a 45-year-old man. This I was baptized in this movie at the ages at which I started picking the movies that I watched, This had only been on TV or HBO for a few years by the not even a few years by the time I was picking what I was watching. So it was good timing. My next up is my bench.
Yep, just sitting on the bench. Rarely gets in. Maybe some garbage minutes.
Boy, that hurts, but I guess that's gonna be Hellraiser.
Whoa,
Now we're
okay.
just getting arbitrary. I can't even give reasons. And before Cell, what is it?
Prince of Darkness.
No, no, but
Oh,
what's
just a drop. So
a
basically, they're,
oh
they're not on the bench. They're like, so when the starting team shows up.
I feel shitty for saying this about like Noe's 3, but I guess it's Noe's 3, which is one of the best horror sequels ever.
Yep.
It's a better horror sequel than Evil Dead 2, which is still also one of the best horror sequels ever. But I'd put Noe's 3 above it. And then I guess it's Prince of Evil, which again seems really unfair. But to be fair, if I'm just going to throw a qualifier in there, it's not the reason. It's just what I feel at 8:40 p.m. today, right now, as I'm answering this question. I think that Prince of Evil is the thing I could
Darkness.
oh, I'm sorry, Prince of Darkness, Prince of Evil. The Prince of Darkness is the thing I could rewatch the least, like per unit time. Like if I had to watch a movie every week for a year, I think I'd struggle the most with Prince of Darkness, even though I love that movie, to watch it every week. Whereas something like Evil Dead 2, Noe's 3, Predator, I could do it. I don't want to watch anything 52 weeks in a row necessarily, but I could. Hell, my cousin and I came close to that with actually Evil Dead 2 and Predator. So shout out Ryan if you're listening. And then
I
yeah,
mean,
and
Evil Dead 2 is
Hellraisers.
shorter too, so it's like if
Yeah.
you watch it every week, it's good.
But
You know,
this is really unfair because these are all like any one of these movies. I'll bet that even when we were, reviewing it and podcasting about it, I was probably saying if I had a list of 10 movies you had to see to understand the horror of our youth, right? Or even modern horror, to be honest. I feel like 80s is where we really kicked into the patterns of what we call modern horror today. Heavily influenced by the 70s, sure. But for general movie feels, I feel like the 80s is when it kicked in, maybe more around like 84, 85 even. And so these movies, I think, are the movies that shape the movies we know today, even though these movies were clearly influenced by great movies of the decade or decades before.
I mean, three Evil Dead 2 is Three Stooges with other elements thrown in. Sam Raimi keeps referencing that. So I mean, he was influenced, but then he uses the Evil Dead to do that, which I think then influenced other movies. So it's just a trickle down effect, like Buster Keaton influenced Jackie Chan, then Jackie Chan influenced more people, and like
Well,
Hard
I
Globe
actually
influenced
mean
The
the
Matrix,
I
which
even
then
mean that in terms of the feel of the whole movie,
oh,
though.
okay, got it.
In terms of tones, in terms of slapstick horror and brutal horror, and just the levels that we try to achieve with those, giving agency to final girls instead of they just happen to be final girls. Like a lot of these things, I feel like those things were fruiting in this time.
Like, what was your so? Did you watch all these movies in order? I know we already talked about Evil Dead once, but I don't know if I asked you that question because I went from Army of Darkness to Evil Dead 2 to Evil Dead. I worked my way backwards. So,
So Evil Dead 2 was the first horror movie that I ever saw unedited, so either on HBO or on video, right? As a child from start to finish. And I saw it with my playwright uncle, who does try and do a little movie work, but he's not as successful with it. He's working on it. Hope he gets it. And my other uncle, who was in Lurking Fear and a couple other horror movies, as it turns out, although back then he hadn't been. And my dad had fallen asleep, and I believe I was 9 or 10 years old. So this was the first unedited, not TV, cut horror movie I had seen. And actually, my second was Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. With a different uncle of mine after my very close cousin fell asleep because he was too young according to his mother. But when he and his mother went to bed, my uncle decided I wasn't too young because he wanted company to watch the movie.
so nose for it 10.
Yeah,
It's kind of silly.
yeah, sure. I mean, sure.
Like the
And
first
I had a
one's
lot of fun with
meaner.
it.
Yeah, the first one's meaner. I think but if you watch the fourth one with the cockroach and the silliness of it all, then and like the invisible fight, that might
Well, and
not
bear in mind,
feel.
I had seen some of this stuff, but in some of these other movies, it's just never unedited. So, the little bits of the gore get cut out sometimes, a little bit of the meanness of the language, because when you're watching the USA Network, if anyone even knows that channel who's listening these days, you're probably our age, right? But the USA Network at like even 10 p.m., it's get ready for prime time, beep, and so it adjusts the tone a little bit when you take that stuff out. And because it's so awkwardly cut out way back then, they were usually not even trying to put in another word. That it almost made it even more hokey than it may have already been, and you're not getting the mean as much as well.
Yeah.
In a way, it made them more approachable, I think. Whereas now, like they're cutting in a different word, and we're using like some mixer or I guess AI even today to make
Punk
it
bunch of
sound
suckers.
make it sound like the same character
Yeah.
is saying a different word. Or they even voice over it for a cut in post. So it's a different animal now. But yeah, so this was truly though my actual first, like, I don't know what to call it, the raw dog watch of horror as a kid.
And
What was yours? Do you remember? Do you know?
I think for me, it was something like the first It, Bram Stoker's Dracula, like Ernest Scared Stupid, in one of those movies.
Well, I might, but the original It was already edited for TV because it.
Yeah, but so then R rated. Well,
Well,
how?
yeah, well, you can say
But
it because you know
probably,
what, you saw it in its true form. That's
and
right.
like
I think that's okay.
also like Bram Stoker's Dracula, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, I went to a buddy's house and his dad put it on, and I just sat there and I watched the entire thing, and images are just burnt into my memory that I'll never shake. Like when you listen to that episode. So it's yeah, that's probably it. That's probably the one that's one I can remember. So I think it was that one. But what's interesting about this movie too is they made Evil Dead. It did really well. Then they went and made Crime Wave. And I read Bruce's book. I've listened to the commentaries, and there's an hour and 40-minute documentary on the Blu-ray that I listened to. None of my students showed up for a makeup class, and they're 4.5 hours long. So I got a lot of work done, John. And I listened to I listened to it, and what happened was after Crime Wave, they didn't really have any prospects because Crime Wave was a huge stud at the time. So then they went to what Dino De Laurentiis. He started this Rosebud thing, but they only went back to this movie. They didn't want to make another horror movie, but they went back to it because that's what they could get funded. And the good news is they had made the first one, they had made Crime Wave, and so they went into this one prepared, and they went into North Carolina with a budget. They took over a high school or middle school gym. The entire place was run over, so they used entire class. They had a production office. They had Howard Berger, Robert Kurtzman, Greg Nicotero, Mark Schustrom. They had Tom Sullivan. I mean, like pretty big names working on it, and they were all hungry, and they all loved the first one. And then you have Sam Raimi looking to prove himself. You have more of a Three Stooges vibe, and so everything I've read about this film is and why it's so perfect is it just seems like lightning in a bottle. This movie, just the energy, the fact Bruce Campbell's physicality, the fact that they all knew each other, the fact that Sam, Rob, Bruce had been together for a long time, loyal cast. They brought in people that were hungry, they were more prepared, and it's like they had a chance to remake Evil Dead, but they didn't have their footage. They couldn't get the footage from the first one, so they had to reshoot it real quick, and people didn't really get that. But it's just an interesting thing, and like they're like, is it a remake? Is it a sequel? Is it a rebootquel? What is it? And I think Bruce Campbell calls it like a remake-quel, something like that. So it's a sequel, but it's also kind of a remake. But I just love that the reason this exists is because they couldn't get funny for anything else, so they just went back to the well, and that could have meant chaos if you're just cynically returning to this film because that's what you can get made. But they made a horror classic out there in North Carolina, so I love that. They had. I think they also had something to prove at the time as well. So I know it didn't make as much money because it opened up in kind of a rough time, but this is a movie that you and I worked conventions for many conventions, and we had Bruce Campbell there a lot, and his lines were always packed. And you and I love horror movies, and like Evil Dead is such a cult classic. It's such a cult horror base. The amount of tattoos per person, probably the amount of DVDs, VHS tapes, Laserdiscs released is unrivaled by this franchise. There's every single edition of it. So I just love the story of it. I love that it happened because that's what they could get funding for. They made this incredible film, and it just lives on. It's still good today. Like, this movie is so charming, and I love it so much. That's all I wanted to say, John. But I just love it's like really endured the test of time, and it has such a loyal fan base. And I don't know. I think Bruce Campbell, the more I watch it, the better I think Bruce Campbell is. That's a lot of hard work he's doing.
Yeah, but the thing is that in this movie, he's always on. There are going to be a lot of movies where you have an easy scene where hardly even a scene. You're just walking down a street. Like it doesn't take 15 takes to do this, and even if it's not a good cut, you could take it. Like or yeah, you get out of the you get out of the car, you shut the car door, you walk across the street, you wave at someone, you walk into the hardware store. Like there's not a scene like that in this whole movie almost. He's always either on as in trying to be a very actively charming boyfriend, particularly in the beginning, right?
I'm a
Or
boy, you're a
he's
girl.
or he's on in that he is reacting to something. Because in this movie, I'm going to say it again, folks. Like if somehow you haven't seen this movie and you're listening to this, or if you haven't seen it since you were a kid, like you don't watch this movie you could be the most impatient horror viewer ever. You're never waiting for something to happen. You're more shocked constantly by it. And then before you know it, you've seen 25 different things happen in what would be a whole movie's worth of events, and you're at minute 15. And I'm not even kidding. Minute 15. So much happens in this movie. Like it's easy to forget how quickly into the movie it is before we get the flashbacks about the book. We get him accidentally cutting off Linda's head, and then she's dancing naked by the grave in stop motion. All this is happening, I think, by even the dancing in stop motion, I think is by minutes like 17. and you'd think like that's so much of the movie. No, it's 17 minutes of the movie. And things just keep on happening. It's a kind of a stoogey or cartoon moment where Ash and the daughter of our academic are both looking each direction, and their head is making like a cartoon sound every time it moves because they keep hearing things in the house. And that's kind of how it is as a horror viewer watching this whole movie. Because if you said name your top 5 favorite scenes from a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, you're realistically listing almost all the scenes worth remembering.
Oh, you would have to do a top 50 on this movie.
That's just it. There's so much constantly happening. It really is. It's unbelievable if you were to keep track of how many things that you would call worthy of a scene in itself. Because most of these scenes are like this is like watching the Raid Redemption, where every fight is like 6 minutes long of 200 techniques. And like we grew up with Van Damme, who I love, right? Or Schwarzenegger or Stallone. And like a fight that lasts 30 seconds is the fight, maybe, or maybe they spread out a couple minutes, and the number of techniques thrown is dramatically fewer, right? It's like this is the turbocharged Raid Redemption to a classic 80s action movie, but this is in the 80s. Movies weren't like this then. I feel like the next movie that really stood out in terms of action slash horror effects and gags per unit time, you've got to skip forward all the way to Dead Alive.
Yeah, Peter Jackson.
Right, which I think is 90 or 91. That's another movie that were granted there are those some slow parts in the beginning. In the first 20 minutes, there are some slow parts. Walking to the store, he's interacting with his love interest. It's not super charming, it's not super on, it's just cute enough, but you're just patiently waiting for something to happen. This movie does not have this, but Dead Alive, that's as close as I can think that it is. It's almost like how they criticize TikTok and things today, where it's just a constant hit the button for the dopamine. This movie is doing that. If you ever complain that old movies seem a little slow to you, and that's why you don't watch older horror movies, toss this one in.
Yeah, there won't be the complaints there. This thing moves at a lightning fast speed. And also, I just want to, I wrote down every time Bruce Campbell Ash gets hurt, and I want to read it to you. And let's see if I don't think there's ever been a character who's been put through more of a ringer. So he's slammed into a tree, and then his face goes in a puddle. And then when he's driving back, he gets tree branches in his face. Plus, he had to kill his girlfriend with a shovel. Tree branches hitting him in the face, Sam Raimi. Then he crashes his car, flies through it. Then he gets his head bonked 6 times when she grabs his head and slams against a door. And then the head bites his hand. And then probably the best thing is after he says work shed, when he runs outside and trips on that barrel. That's like one of the greatest physical comedy moments I've ever seen. Then he gets slammed by the corpse with the chainsaw. And then the hand starts choking him. Then he gets a face squeeze. The thing pokes him in the eye. And then he gets hit with 3 plates. And then he gets 3 face slams. And then he gets a stomach punch. And then someone hits him with an uppercut. And then he does his flip that great kitchen flip, which he did to get the Briscoe County job. He flipped for everybody. And then he slammed into a cabinet. 2 more plates hit him. Then a glass bottle hits him. Then he stabs his own hand, cuts it off. Then he gets hit with the blood wall explosion. Then he goes and sits in a chair, which is amazing. And the chair crumples on him. And then people run into the house. He gets punched twice and clobbered. Then he gets kicked into the face. And then he gets his head slammed back into the floor. And then he gets kicked backward into a cellar, which he lands on the stairs. Then he's hit in the back of the head with a shotgun. He's pulled through stairs by Henrietta. He's slammed through a wall. He fights with a demon. The house falls on him. His hair turns gray, and a tree hand grabs him. And then he's sent back in time.
I feel like you actually did not mention when he chainsawed off his own hand.
Oh, yeah, wait, no, I have it when he stabs his own hand, cuts it off. Oh, I guess I could say chainsaw.
That was so brief. It just totally caught me off guard. But yeah, like there's just so much in this. But the thing is that so you just listed a bunch of things, and someone who didn't see the movie will be like, yeah, well, these 8 things happened in this scene, and these 10 things happen. But in a way, while there are some clusters, things are constantly happening to him, though. It's constant.
Mm-hmm. Just
It's
constant. And you know what's nice about this one? He
Did
gets
you
teamed.
include when he got kneed in the balls by the girl?
Oh no, I didn't. Oh, I can't believe I forgot that. Yeah, he gets kneed in the nuts. Just and you know what I think helps him too here is that he has a strong supporting cast. So I think Anna, Sarah Berry, she's cool. She rolls with him. She's by his side. I know she gets stabbed, but she's the one with the book. She's the one who helps him get into the cellar when what Jake, the idiot, throws the papers down there with Henrietta. I actually like Jake. He's such a scumbag, and I kind of love him. And that bit where he has to carry the trunk for $45 is like legitimately hilarious. And also Bobby Joe, when she gets introduced, like Bruce Campbell says she catches the eyeball fly ball, and I love her spitting scene. But she's actually really funny, and she has her tree death, which isn't as gory. And then there's Ed, who's pretty chill. There's Linda, like he has a strong supporting cast. I think Annie more than holds her own with him. And also, there's some gorgeous techniques in here. When Ash is being chased, that's like Sam Raimi running around on a motorcycle. He has a literal motorcycle smashing the doors. Like these guys invented, like when he's in the puddle and the camera shoots up and spins. This is really technical, inspiring, neat film making
I
going
love
on.
the chase through the cabin,
Yeah,
including like the insulation kind of hollows through the walls and everything. It made the cabin feel so. I remember as a kid, I was thinking that cabin isn't that big, but then when you actually watch it and you really think about it, it's like no, they went through this room and then they went through the wall, which was a little wider than it would be, right? Through the wall, then out of this room and into this room, through this other wall, into the bathroom, out the. So it's like really they just went through every space and every interspace. It's almost like just going up and down the aisles of a grocery store, but it's just done chaotically. So it feels like you're making all these wild turns.
it looks great. The one thing that I think I always forget about though is the tree hand and then the monster that he sticks his chainsaw in its eye. I
Yeah.
never remember that.
It's
Do
very
you
King
like,
Kong, isn't it, though,
yeah,
too?
like when the hand comes, do you ever remember that scene?
You
I
know what's
don't.
funny? That does throw me. It's one of those things where every time I see it, I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, right, that does happen. But true, yeah. And when the tree's face is coming through the door, it it just I don't know. I think again, my brain is categorizing this with King Kong scenes because this is just the effects being used. It feels like the Jessica Lange King Kong.
Pulls her, and even the original when he just grabs that lady, looks at her, he's like, "Oh, that's the wrong one," and chucks her. But they, I don't know why, but that's a scene from this movie. I always forget about it and then remember it when I'm watching it. I don't know if you're the same way. I'm like, oh yeah, the tree scene, because I guess it's the least comical when he's with the claymation dancing that they built with the groovy bits when he swallow this and
There's just so many. It's just that there's so many. Scenes isn't even the word, but there's so many things that you could recollect as a scene. And again, you start to think like, oh, that was one of those great scenes, and you don't realize that it was stitched together on either side with more stuff. There's so much in this. It's like cramming for an exam. Of course, you're going to forget some stuff. Like
oh,
again,
that's
what?
funny. Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
so much in it. It's
I mean, the hand flips him off, which is hilarious. Also, there's that scene where the hand notices the cleaver and goes, "Aha!" Like that's really funny.
And
Uh,
even the way it gets over there, because it's hard to pull his body, so it winds up its hand and sinks in, and then it slowly pulls, and then it winds up,
oh
and
man.
the hand is making noises. It's going like it's.
And Ted Raimi as Henrietta, milking every line.
Oh
Someone's in
God.
my fruit cellar. Just someone with a fresh, just milking every line. And I love the scene where he kind of calms down. He's like, "Damn it, I said it was all right. Are you listening to me? Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm all right. And then the thing the axe lands right next to his head.
Right, right.
Um,
She's still trying to kill him. Yeah, it's
and just even the stupid gag when like he was the chosen one who was sent back to save the world from evil. It's like he didn't do a very good job. But I don't know, the movie. That's the problem. I was a little worried with this episode is we could easily just. I guess we could have done a draft of the best moments, but that's everyone knows those, and I feel like it could be just become. You know what's great? You know what's great? Oh, you know what's great? This is great. But I think for me the script, the writing that Scott Spiegel helped with. And I also love that, they shot in this gym, but the cabin was on the second floor so they could do gags around it. And a lot of the furniture and props in there were pre-Dutched already. So they were already cockeyed to make it feel off. It's just little smart decisions. And even A Farewell to Arms, how stupid is that?
Mhm.
It's insane. But I don't know. Someone said that this movie on the behind the scenes documentary, they said it was a combination of luck, timing, skill, and movie magic that made it so great. And I kind of love that. I feel like that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. What are your favorite moments in this if we haven't talked about them already?
Gosh, favorite moments. Well, it's so easily the ballet dance number with the head attached optional maneuvers and awkward stop motion, and you could watch it and you could so criticize it if you just actively hated horror movies and be like, her body proportions don't make sense. It's like, yeah, someone quickly put together a clay model with crusty, rotten nipples on it and made it dance. Like that's what's wild here. And the grody hip bones and stuff. And you hear her singing and giggling as she's
Yay!
doing this dance after she just rose from the grave, which just happened after the house was kind of haunting Ash and playing the very song he was playing for her when she was ballet dancing right after they got into the house. Like, so it's just that's such a good scene in so many levels for the visual, for the kind of slapstickiness, for the actual well executed classic horrorness at the same time. Like this is classically good and slapstick good objectively both at the same time. So that's one of my top just visuals that sticks with me from this movie just
And
through my whole life.
when she jumps away, she's like, "Wee!"
And she fades away into nothing, like yeah, like just disappears.
Oh,
It another favorite, just always for me, is it's the combination of his madness scene. Again, the house is kind of haunting him in a way where everything's animating and laughing at him, and he's laughing with it. And he does this. He sees the lamp laughing, and it's swaying up and down as it's laughing, and he literally bends his knees to kind of do the dip with the motion of the lamp and then they both stop at the same time and laugh even harder but all that kicked off with the super just demonic looking deer head that looks over at him and starts cackling. So that like that paired thing is just wild. It sticks with me so hard. And then Henrietta, when the moment that her head claymation grows onto that like long neck, prehensile neck with that skull at the end, it looks kind of hokey, but it's also kind of awesome and awkward and ugly uncomfortable in a good way to the vibe of the movie. Like it's just, there's just all these great, you know what? Okay, and here's the thing that people won't think of. So when you're a kid, you know how like you see a movie and you get scared of something, and then whenever you're going up the stairs in the dark and it's like houses, when we were kids. Nowadays, there is a light switch at the top and bottom of a stairwell for the same light. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
When we were kids, there was one light for the stairwell. It might have been at the top, it might have been at the bottom, but depending on which way you're going, it's dark until you get to it, right? So you would have this fantasy in your head of what was going to be there that you were unreasonably scared of, even though you knew in all reality that it didn't exist. For me, that was going down the steps of my basement because they didn't have those backdrops. So if you were in the basement on the floor, you could see through the steps just like you could in this basement. And I was always so scared that something would reach through the gap in the steps and pull my feet back, and I'd, just fall down or get pulled through the steps or something.
It's so funny you say that because whenever I visited my family in Iowa, they had a basement and the lights was at the bottom of the basement. So you had to walk down in the dark, keep it
Dude, and that
on.
was normal back then.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you had to run. So they had two really nice rooms in there, but separate them was like this uncarpeted area with the freezer and all the stuff in the house. So you had to walk through that, but you couldn't just hit the light. You had to go through the whole thing in darkness to hit the light. And then the room was in a very back corner, kind of separated by that dark area. And so it was like kind of freaky turning on those lights. You
I
couldn't
guess
just
like
yeah, you
I'm
couldn't
not
just pop
saying
them.
that I'm not saying that anyone 25 and under couldn't have ever been in one of these houses. I'm just saying it was so often that, yeah, you walk into the basement, there's a light you turn on, that light is practically right above your head, right when you're about to go down the stairs. The next light, you are in the darkness when you are reaching for that light switch. So it's like you're always you're getting swallowed by the darkness before you do the next light. That is death in a horror movie. We grew up knowing that, for God's sake.
You know, it's some of the best sleep I ever got was when I lived in Korea, South Korea, because my apartment, it was actually wonderful. I had a washer, kitchenette, bathroom, the company paid for it, so it was amazing and I loved it. But I like it was one room with a bathroom. So you walk in, there's the bathroom, and then you can see the entirety of I had like a little armoire that wasn't that big. So I know even like late at night, if I heard something, I could just look around the room a little bit. And I was like, okay, good, all clear. Like it wasn't like a big creepy house. You know what I'm talking about? Like that you would walk around in. So I had good sleep in that one, John, because the doors are really sturdy too. So I would just kind of walk in, do a quick surveillance. I'm like, I'm good. So even like a paranoid kid like me who probably watched too many horror movies, when I lived out there, it was just really nice to scope out because I was like, oh, okay, I don't know. I thought that was kind of fun. No, yeah, this movie, you know what's interesting too, what they talked about in the commentary is that they said that this movie shows beautiful technique, wonderful special effects, committed performances, but it's not the most polished and clean of movies. You know, Henrietta's suit is ripped. Some of the line readings are a little funky. You know, Ash's like the continuity with the makeup is like I don't even know if it works, but I'd never noticed it. But they talked about in the commentary, and I started to notice it. But I think that's part of its charm in that when you watch a like a quote unquote bad movie, but it's fun because it's so bad. You can just have fun with it. It's so bad, it's good. This one is so good, it's good, but also it has a lot of personality and it's not overly clean and polished, if that makes sense. Like it's the total package. It's not good because it's bad or you can have fun with it. It's good because it's good. But also the effects, even if they look a little dated, they're still really good and they have so much personality that they work today. So it's it's a interesting synthesis of combining unpolished elements with really superior filmmaking to create a movie that you and I would both start on our team against other amazing horror films. So I don't know. I love that. I love how it happened, and it makes me happy. Like this is a movie I think you could study. You could learn even the first one with the way they got it made. These are movies that could help you in your journey to be a filmmaker, just to understand what they went through and how they improved. And I love that about it. This movie's great.
It absolutely gets a lot of things right. But I think don't get me wrong, there are movies out there where, for the most part, someone could almost objectively say they did everything right. But I don't know, if everything's right all the time, might it be a little harder for the things to be appreciated because they won't stand out as much? I'm not. I get part of that's pacing too, right? But like, if someone was on all the time and everything was perfect all the time, I feel like we wander into a territory of these kind of like Oscar bait movies where most of these movies, you see the trailer and you're like, they're just trying to get an Oscar, I can tell. And it's going to be objectively good. It's going to have an outstanding screenplay, great actors, great writing, great direction, great wardrobe, all these things. And you watch these movies, and even though afterwards you talk about how great everything was, it was on the verge of boring. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Now, granted, this is a horror movie. It is an inherently exciting thing. but especially when it's like this over the top slapstick kind of thing. But when everything is truly right all the time, it can, I don't know.
No,
I feel,
that you make a great point, because sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you got it.
I know exactly what you mean. And I think, I think with this movie too, it's not, it doesn't feel it doesn't feel polished. It doesn't look like a prestige picture. It's not trying to win anything, and it has a lot of personality. I think some of these movies, they're just so well made that they're kind of boring, where everything is. I watched an action movie recently. I don't want to name it because it was cool, and I don't know. I had a cool chat with the director, and I liked the movie a lot, but it's so competently made and grounded that I don't think it's going to do that well. And when you watch it, you like it, and you're like, this is a well-made film. But I really haven't thought about it, because when I walked out of it, I just went, that was a nice package. It was believable. There was good fight scenes, but it didn't have a really odd personality of like the beekeeper or something. Like there's some films that are just almost too polished and too well made to have a personality. I don't know if there's like, I don't know if this makes sense, John, but if there's like a baseball player that just hits singles every time he's at bat, like you're like, yeah, he's really good, but he's kind of, I guess he's
He's
borderline.
your favorite guy if you're doing Moneyball.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's unstoppable, but it's also just like, yep, there's another single. Hey, another single. Hey, another single. He's gonna get on base. He'll knock two home. Like the RBIs are going to be insane if you think about it. But like that's not the most thrilling. Like people loved watching Sammy Sosa swing and miss, but when he swung, he got a home run. So I think there's. Does that make
Or
sense?
it's like the old Babe Ruth thing. Everyone would talk about how great Babe Ruth is, but nowadays when we look back at the data, all you hear people just say about the data, it's like, yeah, no one hit more home runs than Babe Ruth. It's like no one struck out more than Babe Ruth.
Exactly. That's why people loved him, right? There's a wild card vibe to him. There's a you're if you're not first, you're last. If you're not hitting a home run, you're
Did you just Ricky Bobby
yeah,
that?
exactly. And there's some comedies like that too that are just funny, and then you forget about them immediately because they just don't have that much of a personality. I think cult classics become cult classics because they have a living, breathing personality to them. There's been a lot of movies that didn't do well with audiences, that didn't find an audience and become a cult classic. But I think Evil Dead didn't do too well in theaters, and then eventually it got found, and I think it had a loyal audience who loved the is it a remake? Is it a prequel? Like, what's this guy doing? Why is his hair green? Like, or why is his hair turn gray? What's that tree? Like, what's the stop? There's so much to it, and it's so inventive, and it's so freewheeling, and it's made by a bunch of young people who are trying to prove something, and we're hungry. So I think all those elements combined to give it a personality. It's not just a competently made film, which got lost in the ether. I hope that's what you're talking about. But I see what you mean about like a prestige. Like everything's good about it. It's just meant to win an Oscar, but it's kind of boring because it's afraid to take chances, or it's afraid to be controversial, and it's just like, hey, we are well polished production.
I'm going to refer to something, and there's not a right answer or there's not really like a true solution to where I'm going with this. But imagine the original Halloween. The original Halloween did a lot of things really right, and I don't think they did anything really wrong. That's not where I'm going with this. But so imagine if you were trying to make this look as good as possible. Okay, let's make his Bill Shatner mask that we've painted white and given that hair. Let's take that mask and make it fit perfectly. Oh no, wait, it wouldn't fit perfectly, right? Okay, now let's make it look like it just doesn't fit perfectly. To be clear, in that movie, it looks like Mike Myers did not give two shits about how big of a flap was hanging off of the back of that mask. Now, granted, Mike Myers wouldn't care, but a filmmaker would think that would look too sloppy and would look bad. So most filmmakers would try to keep that more under control, right? If you were trying to make this look as real as possible, but something that the audience would buy. Now, this was a low budget movie. They were low-ish, lower.
Oh, very low. I mean, they had
Yeah,
to use one bag of leaves.
but it was a low budget movie. But this is something that costs nothing to make sure that that looks as good as they can, or to use some dental floss to keep it from only being a certain amount open. But this is just a weird point to make. But there are scenes where that mask is awkwardly flappy in the front, But that's what these masks do. He just, now I don't know if it was because they're trying to limit the number of cuts, they're trying to make this quickly, or if it was truly because he thought this is how this insane person would wear this mask. But people who were trying to do everything right would not let the flaps of that mask be as flappy as they were in that movie. They would think that I can make it look better, but still look natural, even though technically they're making it look less natural. Do you see what I mean? When people try and put all this work into things, things just seem different. But when we watch this harrowing thing, especially when we're younger, because again, I feel like with pacing and the way horror movies now, if a 25-year-old saw 30 recent movies and then they watched Halloween, if they're not watching it through the lens of film appreciation, they might find it boring. They're not going to understand why it's important unless you have a kind of a comparative basis. So I don't think that'll be effective. But what they might notice is, oh yeah, you know what? That insane guy, he probably would wear that mask like that. That's something that people might talk about after they watch this movie. It's a weird conversation point,
No, but
right?
you could manicure something into oblivion, right? And then it becomes there's really nothing to talk about because it was just good.
You just and you manage too many things. You know what I mean? It just the way that can go.
You know what's the
Um,
hardest movie to talk about that I've learned after hundreds of, well, probably over 1,000 with Deep Blue Sea podcast episodes is movies that are just good. So you can have fun with a bad movie. You can have fun with a great movie. You can have fun with a cult classic. But when a movie's just kind of good and serviceable, it's kind of hard to talk about because it's not so bad. It's good. Most likely the production was fine. The actors are fine. The plot's fine. Everything kind of makes sense, but it like that's the hardest one to talk about because there's nothing to.
and it's the easiest one to forget.
Yeah, exactly. And then so like you and I are you and I think have talked about some good movies before, and it's just kind of like, well, what do we talk about? Because it made money, it did well, critics liked it, but it's good. So you can't rally around the fact that it's misunderstood. You can't rally around the fact that it got, dumped on at the box office. The production was fine. So I hate that's the hardest thing to talk about is movies that are good. But I mean, Evil Dead behind the scenes, Bruce got like his teeth knocked out, then they kept it in. His teeth got loose. People were getting just hit and bruised and bumped, and some of the crew walked out. They had to bring in a new DP. Like they had a lot of. This was a tough shoot to make, and it had kind of a war, and people had to stick with it, and people had to believe in it. And so I think that's what makes it interesting too, is how tough the production was, but how it works. And so behind the scenes, it works. The talent involved all became huge. So you can talk about that. Bruce Campbell never became a big star, which maybe he should have, which can be talked about. So there's so many things to talk about with Evil Dead 2, as opposed to just being a good movie. So does that make sense? And that's why I think this movie also is a cult classic. Is there's just so many. It's rough around the edges, but it's also perfect.
You brought up something, I think you threw it online, and then you actually mentioned something that made me think of it earlier in our conversation today. And it's like, I feel like so many people I knew, even if they weren't like total horror hounds, owned this movie. And you brought up how many times it was released. I think you asked the internet on the Movies, Films, and Fix page how many different versions of the of media of Evil Dead 2 did you own? Am I remembering
Yeah,
this
yeah.
right?
And I got the answers right here. I can read out some of the answers I got.
What's the answer for? Can I go first? Because I think you're going to beat me.
No, yeah. How many did you have?
So I absolutely had the VHS.
Yeah.
I just had one version of the VHS. And then later I inherited the alternate movie cover that almost looks like a Dark Horse comic cover. Instead of the skull with the eyes, it has kind of a banner at the top and it has like, zombie ash on it. So I owned both of those, but I only bought one of those. I bought the snap case, and then later I bought another like anniversary edition of the DVD. And and then I got a kind of like a box set DVD of Evil Dead 2. And then I just bought the Blu-ray. I never got a 4K and only have one of the Blu-rays. So I have six. Well, let me rephrase. I purchased five, but I had owned upwards of six different pieces of media for the same movie. So I feel like you're gonna have at least that.
Yeah. Oh no, I had two in Army of Darkness on VHS, and then
Oh,
I
Army of
had
Darkness.
yeah, Army of Darkness on
Oh, I'm just saying
VHS.
Evil Dead 2.
Oh, Evil Dead 2. Oh,
Just
so
Evil
I
Dead
I
2.
had the oh gosh. No, so you had more than me. Because I was Army of Darkness guy, so I had the Screwhead edition, I had the Boomstick edition, I had the Evil Dead squishy book that came up. That was the first one. So yeah, Evil Dead 2 was just the I just went through the whole gamut. So I guess I only had three.
Yeah, Army of Darkness, I only had two. I had the regular VHS with the classic cover, and then I just bought the cheapest Blu-ray I could find when I could find it on sale, I think, with the exact same like slip cover. I think that's all I have for Army of Darkness.
I'm gonna buy the 4Ks for sure. I need to get on that. But I was about to buy the Blu-ray again. Then I just looked through my collection. I realized I own the Blu-ray because I found a new slip cover for it. So I just bought it from Walmart. I'm like, that's a new slip cover. So I have that one now. But yeah, I think that's that. I've had so many Army of Darkness was the one I bought the most editions of. Like that's kind of my spirit animal when it comes to these. But I've just come so far around on Evil Dead 2. I don't know. I remember I used to dig Evil Dead 2, but maybe I wasn't sophisticated enough to get the humor, the Three Stooges humor. I don't know. It never connected with me totally. Like I love the groovy, but like Army of Darkness, his blowhardness, I loved. And it's just so silly and stupid with battles and catapults and everything. So maybe it just took me a while to warm up on those.
You know what's
But
funny is Army of Darkness when they're raising all the Army of the Dead in it, and then they're walking along and playing the fruit flute. I swear to God, it reminds me of Bedknobs and Broomsticks, of all things, when they're animating all the
oh
armor.
yeah, 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 yeah.
It seems oddly, and one of the one of the unmanned armor sets is playing the drums. Like I can't help but to wonder if part of that scene was actually influenced by Bedknobs and Broomsticks, where they're just like, no, we're raising an army, and an army would have a drummer and a this and a that. It would be a natural thought progression to want to include those things, but it felt so much to me like Bedknobs and Broomsticks at the time.
Oh, it's definitely that. It's just so lo-fi but gorgeous. And so Jesse Deal responded, he loves the kitchen hand fight scene. That's his favorite scene. He loves the line groovy. He said it's iconic. And I asked why it was good, and he said it was Sam Raimi finding his unique cinematic voice, perfect marriage of a Super 8 Stooges comedy and the POV Ramcam work. And then he said for two DVDs and one Blu-ray. Aaron Newworth loves Workshed, which when he was on Escape from LA, Bruce Campbell, Kurt Russell went up to him and was like, "Hey Bruce, you say Workshed?" He's like, "My kid Wyatt loves your movie, man. He watched your movie the other day and he loves it, and he just laughs so hard when he hears Workshed." So he had Bruce say Workshed to Kurt Russell, which makes him really happy. He loves groovy, and Aaron. I like what Aaron said here. It takes an already great horror film and ups the ante by the way of even more imaginative camera choices, more heightened performances, crazy gore moments, more deliberate humor, and other energetic choices that display fun milk filmmaking on a small budget at its finest. That's why he's a top critic there, Aaron Newworth. He's really good. And then he said two DVDs, two Blu-rays, two 4Ks, which makes sense because he gets all the copies to review. Um, yeah, what else do we got to cover on this, John? Like, what else do you want to talk about here?
You know, I think it's interesting how they switched from Evil Dead, which Evil Dead I don't think is a horror comedy, but it's not a horror comedy, if that makes sense. And
Yeah,
it's not slapstick, but it's not slapstick. And whereas this movie, it goes full tilt on both of those, like just all the way while still being all the gore and all the mean. But the mean doesn't hit as mean because of the tone of the slapstickiness. But there's some really mean stuff. If you took away the slapstick and you have, someone encountering their demon who suddenly assumes the perfect appearance of their mother and is recounting things that only they would know. And yeah, we're watching a movie. It's like, oh, whatever, it's a demon, kill it, you know. But like it's like it's one of those things where there's also a magic happening. That's affecting the victim. I don't know. I feel like these are mean things, playing the music that Ash played for Linda when it raises her as a zombie. That's mean.
Oh, they're going for him. They,
Um,
after that scene, Bruce Campbell said that Ash is never the same. Like that's when he kind of goes insane a little bit.
there's so many mean
Yeah. I mean,
things
Annie dies.
in this movie, right? And yet, but again, it doesn't feel mean. It's not one of those movies where you would warn someone about the tone because of its wildness. It doesn't come off. You don't
Mhm.
really actively feel that. You need to think about it to notice it. I feel like so it's really pushing all the envelopes, and while every element is there, only some of them, again, the slapstick overcasts everything else. So it's interesting to see this, but at the same time, I want to know the thought process of taking the already decently paced The Evil Dead and literally, I don't know, quadrupling, not the budget, mind you. It's not about budget, just the number of effects and gags and the number of times that Ash gets covered in filth, mud, or blood, or someone does. It's a lot. The number of physical gags, like you said, it's such a tremendous number of the 84 minutes of this film. A tremendous number of them include blood or filth being added to someone. A tremendous number of those minutes, it's not even about scenes, a number of those minutes is populated by physicality, that when you really think about it, like all these takes, all this, what can go wrong when you do five takes of getting kneed in the nuts? Well, one thing that can go wrong is probably really getting kneed in the nuts. I'm just saying, it's like all these things are going to be additive to. That's why we say like movies like this and Drag Me to Hell put Bruce Campbell and Alison Lohman through the ringer. But like people don't always realize they're thinking of just of everything that happens once, not thinking about what it was making this. And so this was a decision. And the decision is not only hard on the cast, but the decision, again, it makes this constant button smashing dopamine release that is so unusual for its time. If you reduced everything by a third per unit time of these instant gratification moments, it would still seem like an incredibly fast-paced, busy horror movie. So at some point, when people say I want it to be more, I want it to be more, Quentin Tarantino is one of those people, but Quentin Tarantino's never had anything on this movie for putting more in.
And I think when you're talking about the headspace, they had a budget for this and they had time. And Bruce knew everyone growing up in Michigan, so he put his body on the line, and because he was also producer. So I think he worked out really hard for this. They put Ted Raimi in Henrietta's because Sam Raimi said he didn't want to cast anybody else because he was going to be too hard on him, and he knew his brother could take it. And I don't know, it just seems like he had the money, he had the time, and he had K&B there, and Schustrom. He had people who loved it. So I think everyone sort of came together. Stephen King is the one who talked Dino De Laurentiis into giving him the money for this. And Dino De Laurentiis already was in. He made a profit before this movie came out because he sold the international rights, so it already made money. So before this movie was finished, this movie was already in the green. So they had time, they had money, they had something to prove. Bruce was willing to put his body on the line. The actors were game. I think everyone saw Bruce as number one. They said he was up every morning working out, and so he looks good in this movie, and everyone fed from that. And I don't know, it just seems like I don't know, everyone was on the same wavelength. They cared, they had time, and I think Sam was able to achieve what he wanted, which is a lot, and the end result is kind of perfection.
But if you divided everything by three, you could have still said everything that you still said, and it still would have been outstanding and blowing everything else away for the amount of all these things.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's what I mean. At some point, when you're writing this down, at some point, someone had to question, this is clearly too much. Like, I can't even imagine this amount of stuff in a movie. I can imagine this spread across several movies. That's why it's like, and you can say, like, no, we're going to double the action. It's like, This has
quadruple.
it's so
Yeah.
much more. Yeah, and we didn't just make scenes longer. We populated those longer scenes with more minutes with more things. This is not it's not that this is unusual. This was so unprecedented by an order of magnitude. Like it just baffles me that someone thought to do all this stuff and didn't say this seems like too much, or this seems like, can we do all this? Can we get away with this? Can we pull this off? Because it seems like so much it wouldn't fit in an 84-minute movie.
I have a question. So Roger Ebert, they were talking about this, and they said that there's too much to the movie, and it's just
Sure.
like they kind of stopped over. Do you think that hurt the movie?
No,
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 because
because it's all good.
yeah, you know what's interesting though, in '83, The Evil Dead made a lot of money. It made $29 million worldwide, according to box office or the numbers. So the original Evil Dead, which is more of a straightforward horror film, I would say, easier for audiences to go watch because it's just a straightforward film. Evil Dead 2 had 3 million more dollars, with the 325 3 million, over $3 million in budget. Sorry, it's late. And then it only made 6 million at the worldwide box office. So do you think the straightforwardness of Evil Dead helped it, whereas
Yeah.
Evil Dead
No,
2 being extra kind of hurt it but also helped it in the long run?
I don't know that it would have hurt it, because anyone that went to see it probably would have just been like, "What?" with their hair blown back, when they came out of it. I think it's just one of those things of timing and public perception and things like that that lead to, something becoming an everyone must see zeitgeist kind of thing. So I feel like, it's dude, The Thing is objectively one of the most fantastic horror films ever made, and we've discussed that, and it didn't do well.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? But it's not like it took people time to realize it was good. It's that too many people just didn't see it originally. It's so I think that this just, for comparative purposes, this falls into that. Whereas, like, what was it I saw recently? I've seen a lot of movies like this, but the remake of Street Trash, which was made by the same guy who did Fried Berry, can't think of his name off the top of my head. Uh, he put too much into that movie, but unfortunately, in my review, what I found, and I felt it actively as I was watching the movie, so this isn't an over intellectualized thing. It's that I kept seeing people drink this, incredibly toxic drink, and then their bodies would bubble and boil and explode into goo, right? And when you first see it, it's like, awesome, that's awesome, ha ha, gross, whatever, I'm happy. And then you see it a different way, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, that happened that different way. Cool. There's a scene in this movie in the end where it happens to like seven different people in a minute, but you've already seen it seven other times, and they ran out of it. And don't get me wrong, they're not replaying the same footage. They're not reusing this. It's more money being put into it to do this gag in different ways. And I just reached a point watching the movie where I just didn't give a damn. It was like I got bored. And if those same shots were in the beginning of the movie, they would have been the exciting scenes. And if the shots in the beginning that were exciting to me were moved to the end, they would have become the boring scenes. It's that they just tried to put more and more in with more money and more effects and trying to do them in different clever ways. And it just truly made me not care. And I'm going to be clear, I wasn't impressed with the movie from the start, but this is a low bar for pleasing me because I love the original Street Trash so much, and they were getting really gross with it. So again, so you putting too much in, yeah, it can absolutely hurt it. Do I think that happened with Evil Dead 2 though? No. Every single time something happened, to me, my opinion, it felt fresh. It felt like something I hadn't seen yet in the movie. They kept doing different things, not
Uh,
similar things in different ways, right? It's not like in a Van Damme movie where they show the same jump kick three times, the exact same footage repeated as if he jump spin kicked you three times.
yeah, you're right. There's so many different looks in this movie. There's there's the trees, there's the chainsaw, there's the hand, there's Henrietta. There's a skeleton. There's the Deadites. Yeah, that's good. And then you'll even get a secondary antagonist from the, it's a human. So yeah, this movie has a lot of looks, John.
Yeah, I think they really nailed everything. And let's also point out though that regardless of what non-horror things were happening in 1987 or when this dropped, 1987 was such a target-rich environment for horror movies
Hmm.
going to theater. Like, I think it's easy to be just off on the weekend release, where, oh, the week before this came out, and the week yet before that, this came out, and people will only go to the movies so often. And these were things that were heavily anticipated, like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, or Hellraiser because of the book. And, like all these other things are coming out. And oh, look, there's the Lost Boys. That's that guy who was that punk from Stand By Me. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I feel like there's this swirl of things that are easy to be excited about, whereas a sequel that's hard to market as a sequel because it's not really a sequel coming out 6 years later. I feel like it was just a little harder to fit in. And Bruce Campbell is not a well-known entity.
Mm-mm.
Sam Raimi is not a well-known entity, even though they made a great movie in 1981, right? Like they are not established. So I think that a lot of these things are in the stew pot of why Evil Dead 2 somehow was less uh, well received immediately. I think it's just again, it's like the Thing fluke.
The Think
Marketing
fluke.
it is harder, or simply not harder. Sometimes you just are just not done as well and
Mhm.
not timed as well, and there are all these intangibles going on. Um, but I don't think that things become a cult classic because suddenly we realized it was good. I think usually they become a cult classic when it wasn't in the first place because it got overlooked for again these intangibles.
Makes sense to me. I mean,
It's
so
it's so upsetting again just to say over and over again how the thing wasn't just like considered the best thing ever when it came out. I'm so upset by that. That was like a cosmic gift to the horror community, and it's like it got missed, like you slept through it when it was released in theaters.
not good. And but listen, these are two of the most adored horror films ever at this point.
Sure.
So I think you're right. Sometimes you just miss. Sometimes the time isn't right, the marketing isn't right, the release date isn't right, and then people just find it later. Because they're too but both these movies though are too good. What's interesting about cult classics? I feel like if it's really good, people will find it and people will share it. So
Eventually.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, no, I love it. Anything else? What else we got, John?
Gosh, I mean, I feel like most of the things that I could bring up, I'd be spinning the wheels on most of the things that every other podcast talks about when they do a point by point discussion. I'm just gonna say again, Sam Raimi, he gives you more for your dollar per minute of a movie in this horror movie than any horror movie that you can find, like truly ever. Like because of this movie, I have been on board with anything and everything that he has ever touched afterwards. I trust him. And that doesn't mean he hits a home run every time. I trust Mark McGuire to hit home runs. He didn't even hit home runs half the time he came up to bat,
It was
right?
like a
Like,
300, you know what I mean?
but we were still backing him up.
Yeah.
Um, so I this is a pretty special movie. It did a lot. They did more with the storytelling and the lore. They did more with Henrietta. They did more with everything, and it all worked out really. I think, and I can't wait to see like what is it that he just did? Send
Oh,
help?
send help. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. I'm probably going to pay to rent that, like, buy it for 25 bucks digital. I've just turned into such a not a theater person, and also my wife won't go see that in a theater, but she might watch it on rental with me. So so
It's
I'll
not a horror
wait.
movie. It's more of like a thriller.
Sure,
So yeah.
right. But with some manic and bloodiness to it, I guess, from what the trailer seems. Um But yeah, I'm really excited about that, and I'm really excited about any and every Evil Dead thing that ever comes out. Like, looking forward to the next Evil Dead Burn. I've been very pleased with the remake and then Evil Dead Rise. I mean, this is a franchise that's really proved its staying power and been consistently very good. Even what was it? Dream Child took a big drop in the Freddy movies, and Freddy's Dead, in my opinion, an even bigger drop. Um, like at some point, sometimes these beloved franchises do have some hiccups. I don't think this one has had one yet. I think it's all been gold.
Yeah. No, I don't think that's been. And then they're all unique. They've gotten brutal. Well,
Oh
that's why
yeah,
we're.
the
That's
2013.
yeah.
Oh man,
Hey,
I
that's
thought
why
they
we're covering it.
did such a good job of that. And Evil Dead Rise, I'm not going to quite put it with Evil Dead 2013, but it's a little more manic and a touch zany without being zany inherently, like with that spider corpse thing at the end, and it does some weird stuff. I really appreciate these movies though. They're somehow this has been very well curated, even with different filmmakers stepping into it. And different filmmakers is where we can start getting big swings and big misses. It even happened with Star Wars. Although for me, I kind of love all the Star Wars movies except for Solo. Don't ask, I'm just a Solo, not a fan. But like everyone was getting on what Ryan
Johnson.
Johnson, is that his name? Yeah. But they're complaining about those movies. I love those movies. I can criticize them if I want to, but I still love them, and I grew up with the originals.
Yeah.
So I don't really think that was a miss, but sometimes the partial miss is how it is broadly received, and there are whole cadres of people that didn't receive it as well. I don't feel like that's happening with Evil Dead.
I had to do the best horror franchises list, and I think it's close to number one. Like, here, let me look up. I just had to re-update this. And before we get out of here, I just want to top 10 horror franchises ranked. I did this in 23. I updated it. And let's see, Evil Dead. When it comes to just box office, so I included box office and critical scores. So Evil Dead is number 3. Just the only reason why is the box office hurts it. But it has, I mean, they're nothing but bangers. And then there's Scream, because they just make tons of money. I did do a bunch of different things, and then Hannibal Lecter because of the money they made in the Oscars. That's like the Hannibal Lecter franchise. But I mean, as far as just straight up horror, yeah, Evil Dead's never had a bad film.
See, like Hannibal, I thought was good,
Yeah,
and Hannibal Rising, I thought was hot garbage.
yeah, hot garbage.
So like if I'm looking at that as a franchise, I'm going to say that franchise missed. Yeah, Silence of the Lambs is untouchably good,
Yeah, the
but
first two are classics. Manhunter and Silence of the Lambs are classics. And
and
then
Red Dragon was pretty
oh
good.
yeah, it's fine.
Red Dragon was pretty good, but Hannibal just good, if that, because just a lot of the same motions. It almost felt like, even
Yeah,
though it was a different movie, different point in the plot. And Hannibal Rising again, such hot garbage. I was upset that I even watched that movie. And so again, like, is that a good franchise? Not really. If you have to take all of it, not really. So I see that's just because that I'd strike that from your list, even though you had to use metrics. I understand.
yeah.
Scream, pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty behind Scream. Even the lessers of the Scream I thought were pretty good. And most of them I thought were really good. So that's up there. But like, boy, if you take out box office though, and we just go on what me, John, thinks, I feel like Evil Dead runs laps around these as franchises.
Yeah, there's a podcast called No Skips where they're talking about albums that every song is a banger on the album. I feel like that's the Evil Dead franchise, and it would have
Yeah.
been number one had it not been for the box office. Yeah, I mean, there's just no skips, and yeah, the consistency is wild. But I think that's because Sam Raimi loves it. It's his baby. Yeah, we're gonna talk about them all. So, hey, John, where can people find you?
Just throw John's Horror Corner in a search engine, and I'm everywhere where I'm not too old to be in it. So you won't find me on TikTok, but I still call it Twitter.
Yeah. Still on Twitter.
I'm
We're
on
both.
X and Instagram. I try to thread, but I don't really understand threads, I don't think, or maybe the world just hasn't taken off with threads. And yeah, I'm on movies, films, and flicks. I got a little tab right
read
there at
all
the
the
top of the
read
page.
all of John's horror corner. Well, thank you for joining me, John. And we have Kurt. Let's see. No, that won't be. Yeah, we got Evil Dead Army of Darkness next. So I'm excited. That's gonna be a good one. And then also listen to every 25th episode because we cover a Kurt Russell movie, and then every 26th episode it's a Dolph Lundgren film. So uh listen for that. But John, thank you for joining me, man.
All right, have a good one.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for John Levigood, this is Moose Films and Flicks. We'll see you next week.